Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our coverage of Jet Lag, the game. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me, as always, it's Sasha, here to talk about Hide and Seek 2, Season 12 of Jet Lag, the game. Sasha, how you doing?
So good. I am also jet lagged. Listen, your girl was out 3 weeks in India. So, it's whatever I say cannot be held against me, please.
Did I hear that correctly, that you are
I said the
jet
thing.
lag?
I said
What?
the thing.
Oh
Oh my
boy, where's the
god.
trophy?
I know. I do have a Japanese Mickey and Minnie right here. So maybe that
Oh.
counts. That could be my trophy. Uh, but either way, listen, I feel like we were playing hide and seek with our listeners about about this season. So here we are. Gotcha. We're talking about it.
We're back. We're so back. We're here to talk about season 12, Hide and Seek 2, their second iteration of Hide and Seek. I believe their longest season to date.
Yeah.
Longest episodes, a large amount of episodes, and they spent 6 full days playing this game. So quite a while. I like this personally. More jet lag is great for me. I feel like they have not reached the point in which I'm like, oh, this episode is too long. Every week, I'm like super pumped to watch jet lag. Um, and I also really liked that they basically were able to make sure that everyone had an equal amount of runs. I really like that angle. Um, I worry for their health.
Them just like keeled over. That should actually have been the thumbnail for this podcast is Ben keeled kneeled over in the Imperial flag outfit, of course. But no, I'm with you. I'm not a walking movement exercise girly, but you are. So this is like truly my nightmare. To where like having to move around this much, don't call me ever. You know what I mean? But it's just to watch other people do it, wow. Uh,
Yeah,
and and I feel like and you tell me, maybe it's because like we now get to talk to them, right? We know them, but it feels like, oh, I'm watching like relatable people to relate like funny, relatable things. So it doesn't feel like draining to watch an hour-long episode because I didn't even realize that it's an hour until it's over. So give me more.
yeah, honestly, like I like the show so much, and this is not true for most shows I watch.
Okay, say it
They're
again.
like when it's short, I'm like, oh, I wish there was more. But yeah, I feel like the easy way to beat you, Sasha, in this game is just ask you a bunch of hiding questions, but like wait like 30 to 60 minutes every time, so that you like have to go and then go back and then be
I
like,
would
oh, but actually
literally
another one over there.
murder. Like
You just be
the
like, fine,
footage,
I'm here.
yeah. The footage would literally just be one long beep because I'm just cursing the whole time. Even though I'm competitive, but I hate walking. But put me at Disney and I'm walking all day, no problem. So you know what? I would hide at Disney Sea.
United Disney. There you go.
Yep, that's what I would
I
do.
feel like it would be pretty tough to find someone.
Depend the lines. Them lines are long, Terry.
Yeah, you just get onto a ride and then
Can I just ride the ride a bunch of times? I'm not moving. The vehicle is moving.
Mhm.
Me just
Yeah.
going to the journey of the center of the earth at Disney Sea over and over again.
All right. Well, let's talk through this season
Yes.
of the show. And because I think that it has some great moments. And it starts off with, I think, a very good episode. The first episode, Ben's first run here. He is going to have a lengthy journey at his hiding spot. And it really, I think, like there are a few highlights in this episode between the Curse of the Jam Door, his sort of mind games with them at the end, and stuff like that. But this is the longest run up until the second round. When and I think overall probably what, like the third long. I wish they kept all of the runs on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
and not just replace, because it would be cool to see if like he was first and third, because I'm not sure if he was.
Because his first run was 10 hours or 11. I should
It
have
was
wrote
it
it
was
down, sorry.
9 something.
Okay, so if it was 9 something, it wouldn't be top 3.
9 hours 59 minutes, I
No,
think.
so it would be close to 3rd, but it wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
It- okay, so who
Sam.
got third? Sam
Sam
with
with the 10 hours
his final
something.
his final run was
Yes,
over 10. Okay.
because he got an 80-minute bonus.
Well, that's funny then. So if that's the case, then the leaderboard was Ben, Adam, Sam, Ben, Adam, Sam.
Yes. Oh, no, Sam was 2nd, in the first run.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, Ben. Yeah, Ben. So it was Ben, Sam, Adam.
But
The
Adam's
first
second
run.
run, sorry, Adam's second run was better than
Yes,
Sam's second run,
correct.
and his
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first run was better than Sam's first run.
Oh, in that way. Yes,
So,
sorry.
yeah.
I understand what you said now. We're back, baby. We are so back.
Anyway, so they're in Japan.
Mhm.
Ben goes off to hide, and there are a few new rules. They're given a 3.5 hour head start. They need to be near or at a train station that has a frequency of at least one train per hour. And they now have this like massive deck of cards. They've made some changes to how like the questioning works in this game. I feel like the changes to the game format for this version of hide and seek have made asking questions a lot less dangerous. And we eventually see that like it becomes pretty clear, especially after this episode, that like just spam questions is kind of the strategy. You don't really have to care about how much it cost or how many you're asking. Just make sure you know where they are, and whatever cards they draw are going to be a relatively minor inconvenience unless they can really pinpoint you at some exact things, which did happen on occasion.
Yeah, big agree, and that's a big thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about were the curse cards, right? And what they were and how they end up. But I feel like you're on the money with just spam questions and don't rush. You know what I mean? Because I think what the beauty of Japan is that there are so many trains that there's a way to almost be like, okay, let's pause, let's figure out where exactly we're going, and then we'll move there instead of being like, let's move and then ask the question. So it felt really exciting than hide and seek one. I felt like I liked this one better because they were able to, I think, ask the questions pretty fast, but also it felt like they knew Japan, right? They've been there before.
Mm.
So they're able to, I think, feel comfortable with their board, the game board actually.
I think the other thing that's interesting about hide and seek, and I think it's true of tag as well, is that, and I don't know about you, but I think this is true for most people that
Mhm.
watch, is that you end up just fully rooting for the hider, like every
Oh
time,
yeah.
right? Like you're always rooting for the person who's hiding, or when it's tagged, like the person who's like it or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and and that means that you're often rooting for the seekers to screw up.
It's the way I was begging. Yeah, get it. They'll always beautiful editing and I think good content. It's just the way they speak as well, right? They'll be like, "Well, I could take this train that goes the exact opposite way 7 hours, or this train that is like right in front of the railway," and you're just like, "Yeah, take the other train. Go 7 hours the other way." But no, they're smart and end up going the right way. But that is what I think adds to the drama of jet lag and hide and seek is that you don't know, right? Even as a viewer. But do you like that?
So yeah, that's the other thing is that
Yes.
they've brought this over again to the second season, which is that
Mhm.
you don't know where the person is hiding.
Yeah.
Now, for me personally, it, I don't think I like that.
Yeah.
And the reason is that I am just entirely reliant on the hider to tell me like, is this good or bad? Which I probably would be reliant on anyway, even if they did tell
Mhm.
me, because I have no idea what's happening in Japan. But
I've
I
been
think
to
one
Japan, and even that, what the heck do I know? I just know that one line that they know, they take.
Uh, the episode, which we'll get to, where Sam hides at the
Yes.
airport, was one of my favorites because they were like, we're gonna try something different here. Obviously, I can't hide that I'm at the airport, and knowing where he was made it more interesting for me to follow the seekers because I knew what questions
Mhm.
generally maybe they should or shouldn't ask a little bit better than I normally would. I knew if they were heading in the right direction, the wrong direction. When they mentioned the airport as a possibility, I knew that he really was there. And so it was a lot more tense watching them like, could he be there? I don't think so. And those are the parts where like normally I'm just kind of like tapped out because I'm just waiting for somebody to tell me are they close or not. And so I really liked that. I do see potentially the argument that like this might be really fun for people who are smarter than us,
Yeah.
who can like try to figure it out themselves.
Mhm.
But like I don't know, maybe those people are more numerous. I would assume that, quite
Fair.
frankly, a lot of those people would kind of just solve it pretty quickly anyway, because they see the footage of the person at the place, and if they know the place well enough to find it, then they would probably just find it. But that might be like a large contingent that is just watches it differently than I do. But I personally prefer to know where they are. I think.
Yeah, and same for me. The airport episode is my favorite of the season because, and for many reasons that we'll get into. But to me, the biggest thing was I think my stomach was in knots the whole time because you know what's happening, and as soon as they say I think he's at the airport, you know, it just the blood drains from your face because you're like, well, how the hell did you get that? And even in the finale, right? When they're like, I think he's in Tokyo. And it's 17 minutes in. I actually wrote that down that, you know, Adam says that line in the finale, and you're just like, well, how the what? So it just adds some fun that I think the other episodes lack. Not to say they're bad episodes. It's just I am dumb enough to where that works for me.
Yeah. I do think there is still some value in hiding the location sometimes,
Mhm.
though. Like, I think the ending of episode 4, Adam's or Ben's second run,
Yes.
we like throughout the episode, they've discounted the place where he is. And you don't know that until the end of the episode when Ben goes, wait, hold on. They're going in the wrong
Yeah.
direction. They could have come straight down to me, but they're not. Like that is a fun moment. So like I do see that angle as well, but I think generally I'm enjoying it more knowing having a better idea of where the hider is. Um
And you
so
you gave us the option, jet lag team. So now we get to decide what we like.
yeah. Ben's first run goes very well in a couple of different ways. The Curse of the Jammed Door, which I think, having seen what seems like all of the curses in the deck at this point, seems to be the best curse in the deck.
Ooh, I like the rolling the dice. Well, the different version of rolling the dice
Which
where
the
you
Gambler's Feet or
yes, the gambler's feet. Thank you.
the Gambler's Feet to me seems more like an annoyance than an actual hindrance.
Fair. I think I see what you're saying. It's just when you're walking, and I think if that curse is done early, right? When you're trying to get on it's the same thing as trying to get on the train and you roll a 3 and the fourth step happens to be a train mess.
Well, you just immediately roll again though.
Yeah. Oh,
Whereas
true.
Curse of the Jammed Door, like you could miss trains as we saw here,
Yeah.
or which I'm sure we will talk about it. Sam's final run can be combined with some other curses for some serious effect, if you think of it. So it seems to me like it's definitely one of the more powerful
Mhm.
ones.
No, I'm
Um,
definitely with you.
yeah. And in this particular case, he managed to, and I don't think he intended it this way, obviously, but like he manages to be in a spot where the Curse of the Jam Door prevents Sam and Adam from getting onto a train that they then have to wait another hour for the next train, and then they can't get on that one either, and it just basically ends up being a 3-hour buff.
No, that
Uh,
was so good.
yeah, I mean,
It's the
just
imperial flag, right?
by far the by far the best use of curse in the entire season, really.
Yeah, and I would say it and I'm excited to get into it with you and them, but it's just so many different ways, right? They talk about it on their pod as well, but why they use the curse or why they didn't, or the frequency or the timing of the curses. But it felt like Ben was just getting the deck was just for him, and everything was going in his favor versus like a Sam and Adam who, maybe are a little bit more strategic and less chaos theory like Ben would be. They're trying so hard, right, to do the right thing. Oh, we need to follow this strategy. And then bam, we're getting 5-minute bonus. And that's it.
Yeah. The Ben also draws the Curse of the Lemon Phylactery, which another one that feels more like an annoyance than anything else, but it is a funny one at least.
I enjoy it because again, in the finale, Ben is like, well, I was checking the time, but I was checking my lemon.
I checked my lemon.
Oh my gosh. Do you think it should have been something at least a little bit harder to find? Maybe not a lemon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to know. I think like obviously the way that they balanced this game, I think
Mhm.
is different than they normally would have
Yes.
because
Yes.
this is a game that we can buy and play
Correct.
at home,
And I did. Yeah.
and that means that like I think some things that are good for content aren't as good for a game that it can be generally played. So like something that's hard to find, can that be applied to the world? Like, is it impossible to find in some locations? Like
Here's the thing.
lemons, I think generally you could probably find them anywhere.
I think lemons, if you're playing the game in America, right? In a maybe not New York, but I'm thinking of San Francisco, which has a lot of public transportation, but not necessarily like so food deserts in some spots. I could see how finding a lemon is hard, like, because you don't have, like in New York, you have, like, a bodega you can go to, or, in Japan, 7-Eleven, everything is all around versus certain neighborhoods in San Francisco, if you get off, you're not finding you have to find a Trader Joe's, and it's
Mm,
harder, so, in America, I can actually see how that's a problem versus, like, a Japan, which just has way more accessibility in a lot of different ways.
mhm. Yeah. But yeah, I think in general it seemed like the curses were not super punishing.
Mhm.
And I imagine that comes from wanting to make it as generally applicable as possible.
Correct.
Um, except for when the curse of the Gem Door really hits. 'Cause that
That was so funny. Yeah, I and just one more thing on the curses because I just feel like I need to say it, but I already know the answer. Yeah, I just wish I was a little bit more something about the culture in there. I don't know like how that translates. Like
mm,
we've already talked about why, but I think how might we, right? That's a design problem. It might be that how might we talk about all cultures and have maybe a more generic card about that? I don't know what that looks like because we've seen different versions, like really go to the oldest building, blah, blah, blah. It's just something like that. And of course, we can't have it Japan specific, but I just feel like we didn't get any 7-Eleven, right? Like go to 7-Eleven and like review the snack, and
the lemons.
yeah, lemons, okay. Get the what is it? The cream sandwich, from 7-Eleven, but
Those
or
little ice cream
n
packets.
no, it's like a sandwich straight up.
Well,
Oh,
but
yes,
the
but the
yeah,
claw oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it comes in different flavors apparently. And, no claw machine, gotcha well, we did get the Gachapon trophy, spoiler alert, but, no, like, claw machine, like, you imagine having to win, something in a claw machine
that'd be a good one. Yeah.
before you move. Um Some claws are easier than others, but again, I think it could be very frustrating. And you could even put like a monetary thing. I just watched too many claw machine videos, whatever. But it has to be like from the $1 claw machine, which is way or 500 yen, which is way more hard, it's way harder than the other ones,
Mm,
blah, blah, blah. No anime, no, kawaii, nothing when we're in Tokyo, like, so those are the things I definitely missed, and
mm.
I think, like, if it was a non for sale, right, like, if they made it, I'm sure they would have done it, but that's the thing, like, I missed in the curses, I will say was, like, Japanese specific things.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that, and maybe there's like too much assumption going on here, but
Yeah.
I assume that like this was a particularly interesting challenge for them in terms of game design because unlike every other season where they're designing specifically for them, specifically for the location they're going
Mhm.
to, and specifically for their show, the
Yeah.
content of it,
Mhm.
they were playing a game that was designed for everyone to be able to compete anywhere, and potentially not even film themselves doing it. Like this
Fair.
wasn't even designed for content at all, potentially.
Yeah.
And so they're playing that version, and I do think that creates some weaknesses
Mhm.
in the season of the show. But that said, I think the other side of that is that I do think this is one of the best seasons of the show.
That's what I was saying. Oh my
And so
god,
the
I
fact that they're
agree.
able to get such a
Correct.
great season from something that wasn't even tailor made for this particular run, I think is really impressive. And I think a testament to what they're doing. It's just like you can see some of the little ways where it like, oh, might have been even more interesting, might have been even better.
Mhm. Yeah, but I don't think agreed. I think this hide and seek was better than the first one for me, and I think it shows the strength of the game itself in
Mhm.
that, like, this is compelling and why folks wanna play it with their own communities is like, it's so transferable. So,
Mhm.
let's see. Maybe me and you are gonna play it at next RHAP Live. Can you imagine?
So we talked about it, and like genuinely, again, I had this thought when watching the season too. Like some of these questions are kind of complicated. Like what are you the closest to, or based on this particular angle, am I hotter or colder? And it's like I have to now like do all of these calculations to make sure that I'm
Take out my
giving you the
protractor.
correct answer.
Yeah.
Um, and if I give you the wrong answer, it like breaks the whole thing. like like if I give you the wrong answer, you exclude my thing and then you never find me and I'm stuck here and the whole run's ruined because I screwed up and it wasn't a real run. Like you have to make sure that you're playing with people that are as thorough as Ben, Adam, and Sam when it
Yeah,
comes
they're a
to
little
answering
bit
questions
of
correctly.
that know cartography, right? The study of maps?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, because like, I could Google and, like, find the answer, I think, enough, right? Like, I've traveled enough, I've read enough maps, but even then, I think under pressure and that's a question I have for them, how long do you have to answer, um,
Mhm.
the
I think it was
question?
generally around 15
Oh, they
minutes.
said okay.
It depends. I think it might depend on the question.
Yeah, cause then I'm taking first of all, I'm taking the full 15 minutes every time, and okay, that's 15 minutes to my timer. But also, yeah, it's just like, some questions, like I said, probably are easy, but I'd love to know how they actually like, do they have an app? Do they particularly figure out how to do it, or they're just that good? And it's
Well, I mean,
probably
think about like how sometimes the seekers mess up, right? And they exclude a
yeah,
place they shouldn't,
mhm.
or whatever. Like it's fun and funny if they mess up. If the hider messes up in one of their answers, it screws the whole thing up. So it's like it is a
Well,
little
just
bit.
when we run this, we'll have Sam in the background, like, the control room be "Sasha, you are wrong. You are actually 2 miles away from that."
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, like, to
Yeah.
have, a judge, an
Yeah, like,
adjudicator.
we need someone and we'd all answer in the same Discord, basically, is how we'd
Mhm.
have to do it. Like, that's the only way we'd get it correct.
So, I think the last thing when it comes to, I think the game design of the version you can purchase and
Mhm.
what we saw on the show is that I did feel to me, I think one of the weaker elements of the season was the variety of curses.
Yeah.
Um, I I didn't count, but it felt like there were maybe 6 to 8 total, something around
Mhm.
then.
Yeah.
And you watch 6 runs, 6 episodes, and it felt like they were just constantly drawing the same curses over and over. Especially then, like when it's like we're then reading out the cursing. I'm like, I actually know this one already, Sam.
Yeah, it's like, when I
I've
was
seen this
watching
one
the
like 3 times
finale.
already.
Yeah. When I was watching the finale, right, we're already stressed. We're like, are they gonna find Sam? Is Sam gonna use the the move? And are we gonna, what's gonna happen? Pause. And explain the lemon. F and I'm just like, no. The lemon one, I really got that. I promise.
So yeah, I was definitely
Mhm.
not only in terms of like specificity for the place they're in, but also just in general. I think I was looking for a little more variety in curses.
Yeah.
But again, I sort of understand that this was a particularly unique season when it comes to that sort of thing. Um, so again, back to Ben's original run. I think the highlight of it, of course, again the Curse of the Jam Door, but then that end game as well, where he's hiding under the bridge and basically milks as much as he could have here by like psychoanalyzing Sam and Adam about like, well, they're gonna think they have enough and they're gonna start looking instead of asking questions. And I think that this is a tactic that Ben was able to use that then over the course of the 6 days, they all kind of realized that was not the way to play, especially this version of the
Mhm.
game.
Yeah, and I think again, Ben, funny enough, had an advantage going first, I felt
Mhm.
like, where he was I don't know how long they have, to plan this because we know that they ran it, before in, as in they ran a simulation in Tokyo
Mhm.
before this, but I find it really interesting where again, it felt like Ben was always using everything at his disposal, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna use the longest time. I'm gonna have a disguise. I'm gonna, like, make sure I am in the most inconvenient spot you could think of." Versus the others. So I don't know. It's just Ben was in it to win it. And I think it was the outfit. I don't know about you.
He yeah. He really had his head in the game. He really
Yeah.
wanted to win this one. You could tell in the finale. He talked about it in on the layover podcast. Like he's like, normally I have both brains, the content brain and the player brain, but like in this game I really locked in on the player. I really wanted this one. And I feel like you could tell and he has a very impressive first run here. Very fun watching him outmaneuver Sam and again, I feel like based on my own response watching, and I think what I've seen from some of the audience, like in the YouTube comments and on the Reddit page, like there are a couple of things that are key to, or that like the viewers are often looking for in a season like this. And one is that they're rooting for the hider, so they want
Yep.
the hider to like get at least one good thing in on the seekers, and like they don't want things to go to waste. And
Oh,
I feel like
yes,
there were a few moments in the
absolutely.
season where that happened as well. So this was a great run in that it like perfectly played out in the way that like the curse worked really well, and the like mind games at the end worked really well, and it ended in this like really successful run. And then
Ben is
kicks
so
off.
funny,
Yeah.
and deadpan that I think content-wise anyway, it works, so it doesn't matter. Like, he's constantly wishing death on Sam. It's so funny to watch, and I truly enjoyed them as personalities, and I feel like this was the first time we got to almost breathe with them, right? Like Adam hanging out in the water and really like just chatting and being like, okay, the other two are gonna be struggling, so I'll give you the content, and it's just all of that felt. I don't know. I maybe that's why I really enjoyed it because we actually got to build like a relationship with them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's always fun watching them like do their thing. That's the other thing, and maybe they've addressed. I'm sure they've addressed this at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard them address this at some point. But like the question in my mind, like the whole season was like, are you not allowed to just like take the photos ahead of time? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like
No, I
'cause
don't
that
think.
was constantly interrupting them, and I felt like not
Yeah.
only was it interrupting them and, like, forcing them to, like, run over to the train station and quickly
Mhm.
take the photo in the time limit, but it also, like, felt like it was interrupting, like, the flow of the like,
Yeah.
I got frustrated because I was like, "Oh, I was enjoying watching them at the teddy bear museum," or, like, "I was enjoying
Right.
watching him at the castle or in the lake," or whatever, and, like, it would've been great if he just had it on his phone to be like, "All right, well, I already pre-took a picture, and it's as optimized as possible because I spent an hour doing it," or whatever, so I'm sure there's either a rule against it or some reason that they don't do it that way. Either way, I would still probably just be, especially once the meta game of the season developed and it was like, you're always going to take a photo of the tallest building
Exactly.
and do a Strava map. Like, the first thing I'm doing when looking for a place is what is the tallest building? What's on the Google Maps photos? And what is my Strava map? And I think we eventually saw like Adam start to do that with the Strava map and stuff like that. But like, I'm definitely like choosing the angle and like trying to figure out as much as
Mhm.
possible what those are going to be because there's just such commonly asked questions.
And there's only so many questions anyway on the board, so it's not like you're never gonna know what's asked. And you've been the hider, so or the seeker, so you know what's useless. You're not gonna take a picture of something you think is useless anyway. So no, I agree. I wonder if that I understand for us it cuts the flow, but I think maybe that's too like boring and straightforward to watch. If they're
If
like,
they
"I
just
already
had
have the
the
picture. I
yeah,
already
yeah.
have this. I
I
already
mean,
have
it's
that."
certainly possible.
Mhm.
I think that like I think one of the things I'm looking for when I'm watching The Hider as well is like what are the things that you're doing to prepare?
Yeah,
Like, I want to know like I like it when they're telling us like this is a potential hiding spot because of this, and this is a potential hiding spot. And I think it would be fun if they were like, okay, so here's my tallest building. How am I gonna make sure I photograph this in the best way
that's
possible? Or
great.
like,
Mhm.
you know, like I'm looking at the streets and I'm trying to figure out what my Strava map should be in case they ask me that. Stuff like that. I think that's fun personally, but you know,
And I think
uh,
that's a different conversation then, you know what I mean? Because yeah, most of my questions also, yeah, are behind the scenes like this. Like, how do you pick the location? What made you wanna go here specifically and hide in this specific spot? They kinda start talking about it, but then sometimes they're hiding out in the open, right? On Adam's second run or first, I can't remember when he was up a hill, but then kinda open in a park,
mm,
or not even a park,
mm,
but just like, I don't know, bench.
just on a bench, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just what goes into that. I think that could be really interesting while, yeah, they're analyzing a Strava map. Put in that footage.
Yeah, and I think that obviously, like part of it too is as we talked about, like it can be really disappointing when you don't see those things play out. So if they planned for like a really
Yeah,
good Strava map
fair.
and then they never get the question, you probably just cut that out.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise it's just disappointing.
But that would be
Um,
funny, I think, as a viewer, right? To be like, "Oh
it
my
could be,
gosh, we
yeah,
did all that work and it didn't pan out." Or it could be like
yeah.
fast forwarded, right? Like of you walking and being like analytical, whatever, and then with like maybe dodo music even in the back.
And so I think I think Adam's first run is sort of an example of this where um we see him plotting out his hiding spot and he's like, here are the obvious woods, but here are the less obvious woods. And this is a great spot for me to be. And this is a very entertaining episode with a very like I think like funny conclusion where because they spot the tallest building on Google Maps, that they just go straight there, and he doesn't need to end up getting to his hiding spot. And like there is some again, like like that's kind of fun. But I was also like, oh, I wish we could have seen how the other hiding spot would have worked out. And then it gets way worse in the
That's what
following
I was gonna say.
episode.
I was like, imagine thinking that's the worst thing that could happen. And they said, hold my beer. Here's episode 3. And when I tell you, because we have Nebula, I watched episode 3 early, but I could not wait, Taran, for that episode to drop so I could run to the YouTube comments to see, because I was in shambles watching episode 3. And I was in India, I think, already. So I almost messaged you and been like at crack it on your time probably, and been like, we gotta talk about this. I don't care how. I'm in India, but we gotta.
Yeah, it's and so like it's this weird thing where I can't tell what I would have preferred
Right.
because the way it played out was so funny and memorable. But I also like I'm still like, oh, what could have been like watching Ben and Adam wander around an airport for like hours would have been so fun. So it's like I think it works either way, but like you do have that sense of like, oh, what could have been. Um,
Listen,
that
as a Sam stan, we are in trenches, okay? That's why you're just like, just please give him a partner. Please make it a girl.
But I really, yeah, yeah. I really did like the airport episode, though. I agree with you. I think that like it was so cool to have like a bold attempt at something
Yes.
different. It was cool to know where he was. It was very funny to watch him like get massaged while they're running around. Like
Could
uh
Oh my god. My thing is, could you have taken a airplane to the next airport?
you get
I
the
don't think
move
there
card
is.
and you just hop on a
Yeah.
plane.
Imagine. Oh my god. Because it's just all of it was so funny. Like the way that Sam would be like, "Okay, great." And then this location cannot be accessed unless you take this very specific train, which no one ever does. Blah blah blah. It's just he was like foreshadowing every single horrible thing that was going to happen to him. And I loved it. It was so funny to watch, even though, like you said, you don't want them to catch him, but you're also like, "Oh my god, you're screwed, dude." Ooh.
Yeah, it's does not work out super well ultimately here. And I will say I think that this is when I think we're first properly introduced to like the randomize question. I had initially been under the impression that if you used a randomize, like it's like a veto, but a little bit worse. Like it's like, oh, I vetoed the question, but you get a free you get to ask another question that's similar. You just can't ask the one you asked me. But in reality, it's no, they can just immediately ask the one you just randomized.
And that is something that if you're running it personally, like, that should be a rule. It you can just make that a rule. Like, how
Yeah, I think
every family has like weird Uno rules, right? Like, can you add a +4 and then another +4 plus another plus? You can't officially, but a lot of families they be adding the +36. I don't know, but either way, I just feel like you just can't ask the question again. That's a
well,
veto.
right. Because like ultimately, and I haven't like fully thought this through, and I'm sure they have. So like
Yeah.
I could certainly be wrong here, but like um I feel like if you choose to take a randomized question, if
Mhm.
you let's say you have the choice, you choose to take a randomized question, you use that card, um, and what that does for you is it just basically it costs you a random piece of information, and what you get is you get to draw another card. And maybe you get to draw two cards. Maybe it's like a really expensive randomized
Oh,
question.
mhm.
But like ultimately, it feels like the net gain is not super big there, and all you're really doing is letting them know that this is potentially an important question. Because what they'll do
Exactly.
is you'll get and the information you give them might end up being more valuable or like just as valuable. And so it might not even help you at all. And then even if it's not, they can just re-ask. They can just ask the question again. They have to pay, but they don't even have to pay double because they never asked the original question.
Mhm.
So Uh, and like then there's a little bit of value to like maybe if you happen to hit on a question that would have been useful to them later, then now they have to pay double for that one. But as we kind of already, I think, came to the conclusion of, the cost for the questions is not really that important. The only thing that can really screw you over is the move card. The chances of drawing the move card seem pretty low in general, and a couple of extra draws here and there I don't think is going to be the make or break thing. Whereas not getting the information you need can absolutely be the make or break thing. So yeah, I just felt like the randomize was not
Yeah.
useful enough to me.
And I
But
know online
yeah.
folks were saying that too, and they talked about it. But yeah, I just have to agree. Like, what's the point of it? And it, I don't. Again, I feel like it's either that we veto that question. What would it be that if you want to re-ask it, I get to like, remove some, you remove, not remove, move to a different spot, like maybe one station over, even.
Well, I mean, I think like at the very least, it's like, if you want to ask that particular question after I randomized it,
Yeah.
now it does cost double. Now it costs double to ask that particular question, like, or something along
And you
those
have to
lines.
wait an hour. There's no way you can just straight
Yeah,
up
like
ask
yeah,
that.
or yeah, maybe there's like a buffer period where like you have to wait to ask that question again. Because like there are, like, you kind of know what are the questions that will sink you,
Mhm.
and being able to block those questions provides, I think, more value to drawing cards in the first place.
Yep.
And so it's that's how I felt watching. But again, I'm like, I know these guys, I'm sure they thought it through, and there's a very good reason why it is the way it is, but that's the way I felt when I watched
Yes.
the season. um but yes, Sam at the airport, very fun. Watching him nerd out about planes was fantastic. Um,
I was
and
just like, "Oh, this is why
I
we're
really
here."
wanted to see Ben and Adam wander around that airport, but the fact that they just happened to accidentally stumble upon him was also very funny.
That was when I tell you again, as a jet lag stan, we know that Sam's luck is gutter. Like it's just it would never be good. So he has to really rely on like, hey, I use knowledge and do well, which unfortunately he did. I feel like try do something cool with his full on hiding spot, right? That old train station. But what are the odds? As soon as they were like, I think we took the wrong train. When I tell you, I say it couldn't be. It just can't be. In my mind, I came up with all these scenarios. I was like, they've just completely gone to a whole different area. Haha, that's so funny. Nope. And then I started seeing that like yellow tiles, and I said, "Oh shit!" Like they are here. They have made it. I don't know, just top 5 jet lag moments because it's so ridiculous. Like, what are the odds?
Hmm. Oh boy. So yes, Adam's first run ends with the Google Maps situation, and then they just stumble right upon him in the forest. And then Sam goes to the airport. They accidentally find him, and that brings us to Ben's second run. Ultimately, the winning run. We see him in the ghillie suit, and he's got a teddy bear museum that he's very excited about. And really, like, the thing that wins him the game seemingly is the thing that costs Adam, Google Maps.
And when I heard that Apple Maps had a better
I
anything,
know.
I I say, "You lie." I was like,
I was like,
"Scripted."
come on.
They're not beating the scripted allegations by saying Apple Maps had something better. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But that is the kind of luck that will never find that will never find Sam. You know what I mean? It just
Hmm.
never will. None of Sam's runs ever in jet lag will find him like this. But I just appreciated it. I enjoyed it. And the fact that Ben was getting them 30-minute times, right? Like we're cut to like Adam's second run where it's like 5, 5, 5. And it's just him pissed off, and Ben is getting the big numbers and the multiplier, I think, too. So it's just, or maybe Adam got that, I can't remember. But either way, it's just, it was so funny to see that. And then Ben pulls out the suit, the ghillie suit, I think it's called.
Mhm.
Oh, brother. The commitment to the bit and that it's dark.
Well, that I
I
mean,
said they're
in
never finding him.
that was just like another situation where it's like, I really wish the ghillie suit had come into play. It
Yeah.
really didn't.
'Cause
He was
that's the
instantly caught.
but again, I think IRL, it would have worked because it was he only got caught because of the light, right, on his
Mhm,
mic or something, but like, what? That's terrible. But they're just like, "Oh, I think that's the mic light," and then they just come find him, like
mhm.
it's nothing. Poor guy.
Listen, jet lag has a storied history with, costumes not playing out the way that you want them
True.
to.
Have they ever worked well, like that
It
well?
doesn't seem like it. But someday.
One day it's gonna hit, okay? One day. And then we'll
Mhm.
say we're so back.
Yeah, I think the even though these led to, again, like going back to like the
Yeah.
disappointing results occasionally, I think one of the things that I was missing from this season of hide and seek that I did like better from the first season was the end games. I feel like this season lacked like some of the really fun end games that we had
Mhm.
in the previous season. I think the best one was Ben's first run, when he was like juking them around with the bridges for a little while. But ultimately, this season, most of the end games were just a fairly straight path directly to the person and then finding them pretty quickly.
And I think they just got good at asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Even if you were a good hider, there's only so good you can be because it's the same game board. So you're gonna get good at, oh, this is gonna get me this way. And by the time you're on Sam's run, you're really well versed with the trains, the schedules, right? You're gonna probably check Apple Maps apparently now also, so that mistake isn't happening either when you're even an Adam or a Sam second run. So that's a bummer too. But I even when we're talking about it, I just want to say again, because you've said it too, but it was still so fun to watch.
Mhm.
And on paper, maybe it shouldn't have been with how like clear cut everything was. But even that, it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that like I think worth pointing out is that when I talk about like disappointing results,
Yeah.
it's not. I would say like the majority of the time, it's not like disappointing entertainment. It's
Yes.
like
Thank
it's the
you.
kind of thing
I
where
love
like
that.
it got me invested and I cared so much. I
Correct.
was like, no, but it was like enjoyable to watch as opposed to like, oh, this was boring or it sucked to watch. You know what I mean? Um, so I think like, are they things that need to be fixed? I don't think necessarily
No.
that is the case. I
No,
think
that's
that
just a
it's,
luck thing. How do
yeah.
you fix luck?
Because
Like,
that's
go
that's the thing
go
about, like, these kinds of shows is that, like,
Mhm.
they can't always work out the way you want them to, because then it gets boring. Like, it has to kind of disappoint you in order to be super exciting when it works out the way you want.
Yeah,
Um, the
100%.
the sweet ain't sweet without the sour. That's what they always say in Vanilla Sky. So
Stop this. You're
alright,
done.
well, uh we get to Adam's second run, which I feel like Adam's second run is like without the Google Maps mishap, probably like the winning run, right? Like I mean, it comes in second place. He comes
Mhm.
very close with some better card draws, with just a little bit better of an end game strategy. This really was close, way closer than it you would have assumed because there wasn't a huge screw up that caused a ton of time loss.
Yeah, again, I just think that Adam is, I think, out of the 3 our most optimal player, right? Like he almost will do all the things that we're like, oh yeah, this is how it's supposed to be done. Versus like Sam does the like high risk, high reward.
Mhm.
Usually ends up not that way. And then Ben is our like chaos, king. But they're all very smart, so it works. But it's just, I think it's unfortunate. And Adam, you got to stay away from castles. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
And have better bird luck, I guess.
'Cause why? I'm thinking that bird is gonna sit on there for 7 years, and 'cause when they highlight it in my mind, this again, I made this up, that they said 15-minute, that's the cap. I'm thinking that bird is gonna be there for 14 minutes and 30, like 59 seconds, but no, 24.
Even after the like very short bird time, I still
Mhm.
thought this might work out because it took him
Yeah,
so long to even find a bird. And they waited until they got to his location to start
right,
looking for a bird. I was like, if it takes them as long as it took him to find this bird, to find any bird, it doesn't matter how short a time he had. They just need to find any bird.
fair.
But then apparently they found a bird pretty quickly. And it was like, oh well, I guess maybe Adams is bad at finding birds.
And that was again foreshadowing because Adam says Ben's really good at finding birds and I'm not. And again, I think they're just jinxing themselves.
That was another one. I was really hoping that Ben's like animal curse
Oh,
would work
right.
out in the previous one, and he just never found one.
And same with Sam, right? Because Sam had the animal curse as well. And I was like, you're apparently really close to the zoo. Go to the zoo and take a picture of the craziest animal there.
Was that on
Like,
the final run? You're saying?
yeah, on the final run.
Mm. Well,
So I'm just like, they tentacled you with the zoo. Get them back with the zoo.
that would be pretty funny actually if he like used the zoo and then moved.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Um. So, so they get the bird. Another kind of like Adam tries to plan this out specifically for the Strava, where he goes to this place where all of the roads are at generally the same angle,
Mhm.
and so he's able to. Or it wasn't the Strava; it was the like what is the nearest whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like he sends like a small section of a road, and then I mean, kudos to Sam, but again, just like oof, they just nailed it. He recognizes, oh, in the photo there's trees. This is a spot with trees. It matches up right here, and they just immediately walk straight to him.
and that again, not being the scripted allegations because they're so good, but I felt like it would. What do you think? Sorry, maybe I should, yeah, pose it as a question instead. I feel like they should have almost a time lapse of them, doing research. 'Cause that
Mhm.
would help us as a viewer, just on one of the runs, I don't think it needs to be on every run. But do you think that's helpful for the viewer? Because for me, just seeing, like, a time lapse and almost seeing, like, we've been researching for 2 hours, and that's why we almost know this spot so well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do see some research being done, obviously,
Yeah.
like especially in this run because they're
Yes,
on the train for so long.
correct.
Like they're just like researching, researching,
Yeah, and
researching,
that's what
and
gives me the idea, yeah.
yeah, like it's tough to like I think show that and convey that in a way that
Mhm.
like maintains your interest because you don't want to do
Right.
research.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe
No, of
something.
course.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that like I mean, I think it works. I think that the main thing, which I think they do well,
Yes.
is sort of focusing on like are they succeeding or are they failing? And
Right,
so it's like
right.
we're researching and we're frustrated because we can't figure it out, or it's
Mhm.
Ben. Ben, oh my God, I think I got
Mhm.
it. And so, like, even though the thing they're doing isn't something that you can follow along with very easily, you're sort of able to follow the mood of the scene.
Yeah.
And that's really like the bread and butter of hide and seek in general, especially because we don't know where they are most of the time.
Mhm.
So I do think that works. It's just like I think probably the most disappointing one was the in terms of like research just happening to work out was the Google Maps.
Yeah.
Uh, just like oh, you're never gonna believe this. That's the building. And it's like, oh, all right.
And you're like, "Well, how the hell did you find that?" And it truly was probably that random, which is why they weren't filming,
But what
so
made that
funny.
work though after the fact was Sam being like, well, the reason I looked was because it had a castle.
Yeah. And again, they're just so funny with that. It's just that's obviously deadpan. This is why I enjoy the show, is because they can call back to stuff like that. And us as viewers are like, ah, shit, not the castle getting him. That's too funny.
So they find Adam and they tease the finale with Sam pulling the move card. And Sasha, I gotta say, I was looking at the comments. I was looking at the Reddit, and they are cooking Sam for this run.
It's not good. It's not
They
unfortunately,
are
I
pissed.
I was so confused. I said, "You wasted it." Like, what happened? What was the reason? Uh, because
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this up front.
say it.
I did not realize how much he wasted his cards until I read the comments. I was like along for the ride. There were a couple of moments where I was like, wait a minute, I thought he had this card, but then I just kind of went with it and I just forgot. But man, the eagle-eyed viewers in those comments were like, why didn't he combine the Curse
Blah,
of the
blah, blah.
Jammed Door with the Urban Explorer to curse? And I was like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Yeah, why didn't you think of that, Sam?
No, and it's so funny because I can't imagine like the stress you're under, right? Like when you're actually running it, and all of us in the comments like Monday morning quarterbacking him. But the thing is, truly, my only question is, how did you not prepare for a move
that was
card?
that was the thing that I felt like watching was like when he was on the train after the move and he was like, I don't even know where I'm going. I was like, you had 6 hours.
And
Well, you
we
knew you were going to be moving.
And we saw him sitting, right, like, at that coffee shop. He's like, "This is a really good coffee." And it's like he's in his Emma Chamberlain bag, and we're like, "Well, fuck the coffee." No, like, worry about the move. So, in my mind, Taran, he picked Tokyo on purpose so that he
Mhm.
could, then move to, like, this really optimal, ridiculous location
Well, I
from
think he went
Tokyo,
to
which
Tokyo because
yeah,
he just had limited options. He didn't
right,
obviously didn't know he was going to have the
yeah,
move card, but
but I
it
mean
kind of, or at least he said it worked out. I
yeah.
think the reality
Well, so
of
you
it
picked the
was that it didn't
location
work
for
out as
a
well as he thought it
change.
had.
Mhm.
But I don't think that was like conveyed to us in the episode. I think like because there were a few lines of reasoning that he gave in the layover podcast that I
Right.
thought made some sense, but like I don't think were present in the episode, which caused some of the what are you doing? What? like like if he had said on the train like, oh, I had a place in mind but the times didn't line up so now I'm just
Correct.
winging it, like then I would have been like, okay, that makes some sense.
And that's
But like,
all we
yeah.
needed to know. You know what I mean? It didn't need to be like a whole thing. It's just again, this is where like seeing his research and then not panning out would have been funny to
Yeah.
watch, right? To be like, because I feel like we've seen this version or this delivery from Sam, right? To be like, well, I had all of this research, it didn't work out, or I missed the train, right? Like I feel like we've seen a version of that multiple times. So it's fine, but I would something they should have put in there cuz oh my word. I was like, "What are you doing, dude?" Like same thing that people were almost dragging him a little bit for the misuse of the curse cards with the
Mhm.
airport. It's part 2 almost of that plus the most overpowered card. You've gotten it and then we just go random to something. I'm not getting off, Taryn, if I see a building that's cool. I'm just not
I
getting off.
that's the thing. It's like when tallest building from the train station is like the default question, it has to
Yeah.
be the first thing you look at, right? Like, but
I'm trying
so
to find
this
the most inconspicuous nonsense building I can find.
well, this brings us to sort of like I think what a lot of people seemed to conclude, which is that they all seemed so tired.
Yeah.
And between sort of decision making in the game and even potentially like what kinds of explanations you're giving
Mhm.
in the footage might have come down to just being exhausted. I don't know that I've gotten. I don't know if I've seen Sam comment saying yeah, I was really exhausted and that's why. But that seems to be the prevailing theory at this time. Maybe we'll have a chance to ask him about that. But I think the biggest thing that I've seen that again I honestly didn't even think of in the moment because I was just watching, I was kind of along
Yeah.
for the ride. But I do remember seeing Curse the Jam Door and being like, oh, that's going to be really useful, and then being like, wait, where did that go? Because I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But the combination that I mentioned, the Curse of the Urban Explorer, or whatever it was called, which forces Ben and Adam to only ask questions outside of transit or train stations, combined with Curse of the Jam Door, where they have to roll a die and get 6 or over 6 in order to go through a door. And if not, they have to wait like 15 minutes and then try again. Could be incredibly powerful because every time they want to get on or off a train, they have to do that. That by itself is very useful.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, they can't ask any questions while on the train or in the train station, meaning they have to get out of the train.
Mhm.
They have to get out of the train station and then come back into the train station and back onto a train in order to go anywhere. And if they miss any one of those rolls, that's 15 minutes that's just been added. And then if that causes them to miss a train, that's more time. And that's every single time they want to ask a question, which means they've got to load up all their questions anytime they want to try, which means they're going to try to actually limit the amount of questions they ask. And, there's just a lot of benefit that could get. And seemingly he had the ability to play that card, but just kind of didn't do it.
Yeah, and I wonder by the time he moved, did he, realize he talks about it a little on the podcast, but, did he almost know, right? Like, I'm just not beating that 13-hour mark. So
I mean,
here
yeah.
we are.
So that was the
Constantly.
other thing is that by his end game, basically what he said was I kind of just started loading up on time bonuses because I knew I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna win. I was just ready to pack it in. But seemingly with the Curse of the Jam Door, he actually really could have won. Um,
Yeah,
but
I just don't
but
think they would have found him that easily 'cause when
Mhm.
frustration comes in your mind, you're just not working as optimally because
They
you're
wouldn't have, yeah,
irritated.
and they wouldn't have been able to ask that question at the tallest building question
Mhm.
at that time, and then just various things that
Yeah.
would have really helped, I think, in that spot. But listen, honestly, maybe it's because I didn't notice it in the moment because I wasn't paying close enough
Mhm.
attention. But I wasn't actually that upset about that watching because unlike something like a ghillie suit or a really cool train station that nobody knows about, it wasn't something that I felt like was I was hyped to see. It was
Yeah.
after the fact, people are like, "Oh, he really should have done that." I'm like, "Oh yeah, he probably should have." It was
And I'm
I'm
sure he
not
also thinks that.
yeah, I didn't feel that disappoint the disappointment I felt was when I felt like he didn't plan for his move,
Yeah, that was the
um,
big one.
because that's
I
what I had been waiting for.
And here's the
But yeah.
thing, Sam also says, right, like, every time, in the second run, he would say, like, "Oh, they're gonna hate," insert whatever, and then it would cut to them, and they're like, "Well, I love that." So it just felt like a lot of unfortunate miscalculations, like you talked about how Ben was really good at understanding what the 2 of them are gonna do and kinda working against them because he was able to predict what they were thinking or what they might do, versus Sam, it felt like they're gonna hate me being in Tokyo, and then the boys are like, "No, I love thank God that he's in Tokyo, we'll just tentacle his ass and we'll be good." So I wonder if
Did you
there's like
intentionally repeat that for Ridge?
no, I do jet lag. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just it felt like, oh, we're just going to, hit all the right thing. And I think everyone again was working correctly. It was just very funny as a viewer to see that like Sam maybe just wasn't reading them in the same way that Ben was able to read the two, which is
Mhm.
why again it paid off for Ben. and did it for Sam.
Yeah, and I've seen some people say like it felt a little anticlimactic. I don't know that I agree with that. Um, because like I actually did really like the finale episode.
Yeah.
Um, Again, like in terms of like disappointments, like that, I think there were bigger ones in the earlier in the season, and not like boring disappointments, just like really rooting for something to happen and it doesn't happen,
Mhm.
which is just the nature of how these things work. And I actually thought there were some really fun moments in this episode, in particular, um, Ben's reaction to the move was so funny. Like the way that you're just waiting for it as they're walking, and Adam's just kind of talking about like what's our next play, we've got him, and then Ben just stops, and you know exactly why, and Adam doesn't yet, and he's like, what, and Ben can't even speak.
No. And we're just like, say it, sucker. Like, we're just like, ha. Like,
And you never see Ben like this. Like this is this is
no.
this is like Ben, who is like very hyper competitive and cares about this in the way that like Adam usually would. And Ben's usually the one that's like, oh well, but he's like, no, I had this one,
Because
and he's
he's
like
tired. He
devastated for the
said,
whole
stop
60
making me walk.
minutes.
And I'm telling you, him like falling over, and there's cars driving by, and his like butt is in the air, and he's just like in fetal position.
I was like, watch out, the car's gonna hit you.
I think that he would have been like, and that's how the cookie crumbles. You win, Sam. That's the vibe that we were on. And I think Adam watching Ben was also hilarious. Because usually Adam is right, like you said, so wound up. But Adam was just like, we'll find
Well,
him.
he lost
It's
one way
so
or another.
yeah. Maybe that's why he's like, I don't give a damn anyway. But it was so funny with him. And again, I just because said that you have the imperial flag, I I am not that is all I can see. So now I'm like the Japanese imperial flag is in fetal position on the side of a road, might get hit by a car, ass up. Like what is happening?
Hmm. Yeah.
So good.
Um, And then honestly, I liked what they did at the end. Now they mentioned the layover podcast. This was a mistake.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
basically, the end game, they get off, they notice the building, they get off the train, they start looking, and all of a sudden, we're not seeing Sam's perspective anymore.
Oh, yes.
And
Mhm.
this is because the reality of it is because Sam lost audio, and so they just decided to try to like do something different to sort of make up for the fact they didn't have audio for Sam. Um, and you're like, hopefully it felt like an artistic choice. And in the moment, it did to me at the
Yeah,
time.
I exactly.
In fact, I thought they were trying to trick me. I
Oh,
thought,
okay,
wait a
I
minute.
wrote that in my notes.
I was like, wait, why aren't we seeing Sam? Was that really the building? What if that wasn't what if they're in the entirely wrong place? And at some
Yes.
point, we're going to cut to Sam being like, I don't know why they're over there. I'm in a completely different location.
'Cause I thought them not showing the building, right, close up, because we see it from a distance,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Sure, it could be that if they get off on the right one, it's the right building, but if they get off on the wrong station, it's the wrong building." Like, that's how far it was in their shot. I agree with you. I thought we were gonna cut to Sam in a hotel. I mean, like, they just not finding me, and the day is done.
Or Sam under a bridge
Yeah.
somewhere else.
That was so funny. Oh my god, that final shot was hilarious. But yeah, but here's the thing, because of normal jet lag, right? Like where the final episode sometimes has a lot of plot armor of like this might be the winning whatever that may be because it's a finale. No, actually the winning thing was 2 episodes, and that's why I thought Ben was gonna win up until that final thing when we didn't see anything from Sam. Because
Mhm.
I said, "Why would Ben get 2 episodes if he
Yeah.
doesn't win?" But outside of that, and then I was like, "Oh, but then he draws that move card." Then all of a sudden it's nighttime, and then they can't find the right bridge, and maybe they got off the wrong my notes say, "Oh, they got off the wrong one." This is hilarious. No.
Yeah, and like I thought it was actually a very fun change of pace to be
Mhm.
like, what does the end game look like from
Yeah.
only the seeker's perspective? Almost like, if you can, because of that, you can sort of look at it as a middle ground of normally we see the hider's perspective, but we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And then you had like the one side of that, which is now we know where Sam is at the airport and we are like seeing his entire perspective. And then at the end of the season, we see the entire other side of it where it's we don't know where Sam is or have any of his perspective. And so now it's like we are with the seekers entirely. Like, are we in the right place? You know, and you start to think about like what kind of certainty you have to have. Because I'm thinking like, oh guys, you're in the wrong place. Ask more questions. Make sure because you must be in the because the edit's telling me that you might be in the wrong place. Like, oh, you think that that's a build just because it looks similar doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
necessarily the thing. Just make sure.
Exactly.
And it's like the kind of paranoia that might set in. And like, I thought it was a very fun little thing that obviously unintentional at first, at least, but a very fun kind of way to cap out the season with a different style of editing.
Mhm. Listen, happy mistakes. We love them all, and we're gonna eat it all up,
And
obviously.
and then very funny to eventually stumble upon Sam huddled under a bridge with
That
an
was
extreme
the
close up,
that
like
was the
he's some
most
sort of zombie.
Gen Z thing to ever happen, right? Like, j again, I say this, maybe my boomer take. I'm a millennial, whatever. But it's just I feel like Gen Z, the way they post photos, right? It's like not aesthetic. It's very like, hey, it's the real me. They'll post like photos of their thumbs or whatever. That's what that was giving. Like the blurry, like just straight up in his face, and he's just staring at you. Like that was so creepy. And
Oh
I'm gonna
boy.
use that. Like that photo.
Will be our thumbnail photo for when we talk to them for
Just
the season.
staring. That's gonna be Sam's photo. You could tell
uh,
that they were all so over it.
I think that photo for Sam.
Ass up for
For
Ben.
Ben, it could be as a, but I think for Ben it could also be him being giddy at the teddy bear museum.
Oh, that's just sweet. Oh, that's precious.
And then
Oh my god.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's an iconic Adam face in this season.
Yeah, him, like, being mad as hell in the background of the 5 minutes.
Maybe him drawing,
Oh.
yeah, him drawing the 3-5 cards, yeah, 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 and then being like
Oh
again another
god.
great use of we lost sound, so we're gonna make this something else that ended up working very well. I thought.
Exactly, it's just they're good content creators. Here
Mhm.
we are.
All right. Well, that
So
is
good.
Hide and Seek 2. Hide and Seek 1 was one of my favorite seasons when I watched it. Hide and Seek 2 also one of my favorite seasons. I like that we're getting longer stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm very curious to find out from them how they feel it went in terms of how long it took to film,
Oh.
and how exhausted they got.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious to know what their sort of responses to some of the like Sam, maybe Sam should have used some curses. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to them soon. Stay tuned for that. And Sasha, next season,
Yes.
Tom Scott.
I said, "Okay." Apparently, he's going from riding jet to jet lag. Here we
Listen,
are.
this we finally found out the real reason he retired from YouTube is that he needed to prepare for jet lag.
Oh my god. Who else are they gonna bring out of YouTube retirement? I have a list. Oh my I'm
um
excited. I think this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. Obviously, I guess if you don't know who Tom Scott is,
Oh, yeah.
he did a lot of very like educational focused YouTube videos. He has already previously done like a mini version of jet lag with the guys. I think it was for his channel.
Yeah, on his
Um,
channel. Mhm.
and so, clearly, I think, especially since then, people have been like, you got to get Tom Scott. And I think it makes a ton of sense. super cool that he was down to do it. And I think the thing for me too, especially, is like as they get more experienced with playing these games, like playing with guests gets almost more interesting for me because theoretically the skill gap should be pretty wide at this point. And so, when you bring somebody in like, Toby, who's played a couple times
Yeah.
now and is very knowledgeable, it's like, well, she's obviously going to be fine, maybe even better. But then it's like, okay, well, here's Tom Scott, who's also a big fan of like jet lag and really knows his stuff, is probably going to be able to hold his own in a lot of different areas. So I think it'll be very fun to see another guest come in here, especially one that's new, and see how that impacts sort of the play style.
Yeah. I'm excited because the picture is them in London. So are they gonna be in the UK? Question mark. Let's see. It's a
Seems
very
like it.
rainy, yeah, out
I
intro.
think I think what I'm trying to remember what they said about it. I think I think it was like something they haven't done before in Europe. So it might
Yes,
be
in
like a
Europe. Mhm.
Europe focus, maybe not UK specifically, or maybe it
Yeah.
is UK specifically, or maybe it's like starting in the UK and going around Europe. Who knows?
I'm excited. Yeah, these are my favorite. Like I like the partner scavenger hunt, amazing race type things, even if that means just like geographically, right? Whoever goes farthest, whatever that may mean. I'm excited. Um,
Yeah, I saw some speculation it could be like the Battle for America,
right.
but European. I'm a big fan of the Connect Four they did.
Mhm.
So something like that could be fun, although I doubt it would work the way it did
Mhm.
in the US and Europe.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. The Sidemen definitely did like a version. I think it was the Sidemen that did the like how many countries in Europe um can we get to?
mm,
And I was like, oh, I wish I had the jet lag guys because like they would actually game this correctly instead of just kind of like
uh,
doing whatever the hell they're doing. It was not great, but funny, but not like competitive wise good. But so I wonder if this is gonna be a version of that.
mhm. All right. Well, anything else, Sasha, before we wrap up here about season
No.
12 of Jet Lag the game?
This was so fun, and I'm excited, and oh, the trophy was very cute.
Oh
Um,
yes.
very kawaii, and they did get it from the gashapon, which I appreciated. I thought that was cute. Yeah, I love what they're doing with the trophies. A tier list of jet lag trophies coming soon on Terrence.
I would say this is like a good trophy.
Yeah,
Not their best, but definitely a
not
good one.
kangaroo.
Yeah,
No
it's
kangaroo.
no kangaroo. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I thought it was very cute, and precious, and I love all cute things. So I'll give it some points for that.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us again. We are hoping to chat with the guys about the season, get some questions in to them, and get some of their opinions on how I think they feel it went, and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to talk to them. I definitely have like some thoughts that I'm interested in hearing from them, and the ways that they sort of were able to deal with creating a game for everyone and also themselves, and how that went and stuff like that. Because I'm also curious to know like how that has gone for them.
Yeah.
Because like, is this going to be something they continue to do? Are they going to now like release like a tag game or stuff like that?
Oh,
Because I think that could be very fun as well. So anyway, we'll hopefully have a chance to talk with them soon. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, you can, check out all the other stuff we're doing. I'm doing off-season Big Brother podcast at the moment, going through the history of the show. And also, I talk about scripted TV over on the Tastemakers over at We Know Scripted TV, talking about the newest releases and news and stuff like that in the world of television and film. Sasha, what do you got going on?
yeah. I also might be on this when this releases. Right, we'll be doing the Big Brother
That's
one.
very true.
Yeah, so check that out. And of course, I am talking pop culture, gossip, celebrity mess over on Mess Magnet. So check that out on messmagnets.com. And of course, on We Know Scripted TV, I'm talking the sex lives of college girls with Chappelle, which has been so much fun. And yeah, when this releases, that will also be the finale. So that's all over as well. Sad, but really fun. So check all of that out. Yeah, and follow me on Blue Sky. But that is it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. Stay tuned for our talk with Ben, Adam, and Sam, and we will see all of you next time.
Bye.